He learned obedience from what he suffered. I don't think I'll ever exhaust those words of their meaning or their power. Paul tells the Hebrews in the first reading this morning on this feast of Our Lady of Sorrows that though Jesus was divine, he learned obedience from what he suffered. It never really occurred to me until 5 or 6 years ago that I could try that approach myself. Instead of complaining about suffering or wondering what I did to deserve it or wishing it away and waiting for it to be over, to ask myself what I can learn from it, what kind of obedience, what dimension of obedience I can learn from suffering, and what the significance of that obedience is. Suffering is that place, I think, where we all have to surrender in the end to God, especially when it's suffering that we can't change. There are times when we can try to dissolve the suffering or cover it over with some kind of temporary salve. But when we're up against a significant pain, some kind of tremendous loss or difficulty in our lives that we can't make go away, we really do have to surrender to it. And in that surrender, we do learn obedience. And obedience to a mystery that in the end is kind and redemptive and good. That great Paschal mystery at the heart of our faith that tells us that every experience of dying is followed by some experience of resurrection. It depends on our approach to that suffering, though. We have to let it be redemptive. If we complain, if we feel sorry for ourselves, and if we just pass the suffering on to somebody else, it's not redemptive, and it's not grounded in that great Paschal mystery. So, suffering is always an opportunity to learn obedience, and obedience to a great mystery, the mystery of the cross. Mary stands as the image of it par excellence, standing at the foot of the cross as her son suffers in solidarity with him, her own heart breaking. But her willingness to stay there, her steadiness in the midst of it, certainly proclaims that she's learning obedience to that mystery, obedience that she professed before he was born when the angel came, an obedience that Mary practices throughout her life and in some ways probably reaches its perfection there at the cross, allowing, surrendering, and waiting, trusting that something good is still possible. As we go through our day today, and as we go through the days of our lives, there's inevitable suffering. And so it's good if we can remember to ask, what can I learn from this? What obedience can I learn from it? And how can that obedience lead me deeper into the redemptive goodness of God?